Hi, welcome to today's yoga class, which is going to be for leg and lower body strength. Now, I'm Beth, and you may have recently checked out my class for arm and shoulder strength. So, this can be a companion yoga class to that class. It can be something you can do on its own. To build strength in the lower body, we're going to be doing a little bit of holds in our practice because we build up muscle strength and bone strength by having longer holds. We'll do some dynamic movements to warm up before each pose. Okay, find yourself in mountain pose on your mat. Take your feet to whatever preferred width you'd like for your chair pose. That's where we're going to begin. I'm going to press my hands together so that I can think about staying centered. And then we're going to sit back like we're sitting in a chair. You don't have to sit in a low chair. Go to whatever height you want and come right back up. So that's where we'll start a few times. So notice how you're sitting back. You're getting some movement in the joints of your hips, your knees, your ankles. We want to kind of lubricate those joints before we hold. So warming up a little bit, warming up all of the areas that we're going to need in our hold. All right, on the next time, we're going to stay and we're going to hold for about 30 seconds, maybe a little longer. So find the depth that feels sustainable to you. Your hips are sending back, but your chest is nice and upright. Now, if you want to move your arms to some other position with your chair pose, that's fine. I'm going to keep them right here. You might start feeling some sensation in your lower body as we hold. Yeah, your muscles really have to endure. That's what we mean by muscle endurance to hold you here. There might even be a little bit of shaking. That's okay. That tells us that the muscles are working. We've got another practice of 2-minute holds to build strength. So you can try those practices as well. We're not going to hold that long today. In fact, we'll just take one more breath here. All right, then push into your feet, come to stand, release. And if you'd like to shake out a little bit, shake it out. All right, let's take the feet a little bit wider. So we'll do some stuff standing, kneeling, and then on the floor. There'll be a nice stretch at the end. So from your feet wide, turn your left toes out, right toes in a little bit. We're going to set up for a warrior two pose to start. Bend the front knee over the joint, stacking the joint so that we can sustain the pose. Push the outside of the back foot away from you. Now you can hold right here, or you can take the traditional arms reaching out. This is going to be a little bit more fatiguing for the upper body if you reach your arms away. So if you want to simply stay with your lower body, we can do that. Let's move in and out just maybe 3 times. That was 1. So maybe we're moving some different joints here, lubricating a little bit. That was 3. And now we'll do our 30-second hold, 30 seconds-ish. Again, you can keep your hands resting, or if you'd like to, reach them up and out. A little bit more effort and endurance for your upper body as well. You can do that. You can turn your head to look over your front fingertips. And after the 30 seconds here, we're going to do a little bonus on this side before we go to the second side. I will give you options for how to do that. Let's take about one more breath here. And then as you're ready, what a relief to bend that leg. You can take both feet forward for a moment, maybe go back and forth a few times, maybe just shift and wiggle your hips. We are going to go to the second side. All right, so turn your right toes out, back foot comes in a little bit as we set up for our warrior two pose. So remember the setup. We find a comfortable place for our knee to be stacked over our ankle joint. We reach the sole of the back foot away, especially the outer edge of the back foot, so that our back leg is active. So that's the basic pose. And you can choose to add your arms if you wish. But first, we're going to come in and out of this 3 times. You might feel some stretching on the inner thigh of the back leg. So definitely I designed this practice so that we would get a bit of strength and also a bit of stretch throughout that practice. All right, last time, and we'll hold. Find the place for your leg that feels comfortable for your hold. Reach the legs apart from each other. So that keeps us really active. At the same time, feel as if you're drawing the muscles in toward your bone, which help activate your muscle strength. Add the arms if you wish. Even if we're trying to add the arms for a little bit more upper body endurance, let's not clench anything. Let's let the shoulders be relatively soft as we hold. Make sure the muscles of your jaw are soft. Take one more full in and out breath. And then what a relief to straighten the legs. Draw both feet in for a moment. How about one more chair pose? Let's do just a little bonus before we come down to our knees. So again, find your hands where you want to place your hands. If you want to widen them this time, you can. Sit back in that chair. I was going to say that comfortable chair, but this pose is also called awkward chair pose. So it probably feels awkward or a little uncomfortable. Just go for it. Let that happen. Yoga can be an awkward practice at times. And then nice full exhale to release. Stand up. We're going to come down to the mat to an upright kneeling position, meaning that you'll kneel, but you'll stay up. And let's take the right leg out to the side. Extend it to where it feels comfortable and supportive here. So we're going to get a little bit more strength into our hips and glutes. We'll do some of that lying as well. You can keep your hands on your hips or press them together like we did in chair pose. This time, our dynamic movement is going to be our strength movement. So we're going to sit our hips back toward the heel, and there is some stretch here, but then we have to contract the muscles in the glutes, in the backs of the legs to lift ourselves back to upright. Let's do maybe 5 or 6 of those. So sitting the bum back, some stretch in the inside thigh of the extended leg, up. This is harder than it looks, isn't it? I think this is 3. You could even think about scooping your pelvis under a little bit, activating the glute muscles. This is 4. Did I say 5 or 6? Let's do 5. So this one's be 5. Come up. Find yourself upright, just a little bit more on this side. We're going to look down to our left and find a place to plant the left hand. You can think of this as kind of a side plank variation or a kneeling half moon, because we're going to get a little bit more effort, a little bit more strength in this extended leg by lifting it up any amount. Don't worry if it doesn't go high. For many of us, these outer hips are tight. Engage the muscles of the leg. Let's hold this just a bit longer. This might not be a full 30 seconds in this hold, maybe more like 15. That's okay. You can tell we're still working on a lot of strength. We're, again, bringing a little upper body strength into this. And then land that leg down, upright, spin to the other side for a moment, other lateral, just getting a little bit of stretch. All right, breathe in, come up through the middle. And if you need a break before the second side, you can certainly sit back. You can take any kind of little release you want. This is fairly active in our strength work. We're stretching too, but yeah, we're getting a pretty active strength. Okay, let's come back up when you're ready. Extend the other leg out. Make sure it feels relatively stable before we begin. I'm going to keep my hands at my hips. Take a breath in to prepare. In fact, we can sit back on the in-breath, because then as we come up, that's the effort. Oh, this side feels a little harder. So that was 1. Sitting the hips back. You can go back to whatever degree that you want. I'm not going all the way back to a sit-down seat. I'm going back just enough that I get a nice fold here at my hip crease, and then I can tuck under, engage all the muscles of this bent leg. That was 3. I'm definitely counting this time. 4. And last 1. All right, that was 5. So last thing here, kneeling, we'll find that side plank variation and into our half moon variation. So look down toward your right side, plant your hand so it feels pretty firm and secure under your shoulder. Lengthen from the top of your head to the bottom foot. I'm going to keep my top hand right here on my hip. And then the lift is optional. If there's any strength or energy left to lift that bottom leg, find some amount to lift the leg. Reach the heel away. Breathe as you're holding. Let's take 1 or 2 more breaths. Breathe in. Exhale, foot plants down, and then a little up and over, stretching that out, finding a release. All right, that was a lot of work. Next, we're going to come down to the floor, just a little bit more strength work, and then what I hope you'll find a nice stretch to finish. Okay, here on our backs, we're going to do bridge pose. Bridge pose is a back bend, which means it stretches the front, but it strengthens the muscles of the back, particularly our glutes, our hamstrings on the backs of our legs. So you choose the first position of your legs. You might choose the traditional position of feet about hip width apart. You can choose a different position. You do want to snuggle your feet pretty close to your bottom. That will give you a little bit more strength, a little bit more power. You're going to have your hands by your side, palms down, press into your arms for a little bit extra strength and power there. I might move my hand just to make sure you can see my lower body. Okay, as you're ready, we're going to start to press into the feet, let the knees come in the opposite direction of the face, and then engaging the muscles. Again, think about drawing the muscles of the glutes, of the hamstrings. There's 3 of them on the backs of your thighs, in toward the bones, pulling everything in, having a contraction in the muscles. Remember, arms can be here by your sides. And then from here, we find a height where we can comfortably sustain and hold. And comfortably, again, might not be super comfortable, but your breath is not ragged. There's nowhere that feels like any sharp shooting pain. So maybe a better word for that is doable rather than comfortable. A doable hold, where we're doing these holds about 30 seconds or so. I'm roughly timing them. We might be a little more or a little less. Of course, going longer will help you build even more endurance, even more muscular strength. Let's find about 2 or 3 more breaths. I'm trying to sustain pretty much the same height the whole time. Last breath in, and then exhale and release. All right, 1 more bridge pose. Now for this, simply place your feet in a different position. You can choose. You can place them closer together so that your inner thighs, your feet are touching each other. You can go wider apart, maybe even as wide as the edges of your mat. You can also have your feet toes turned out. So these are bridge pose variations, not necessarily traditional yoga bridge poses, but we're using this pose specifically to build up strengths and address different muscles. I'm going to take my feet wide about to the outer edges of the mat. We'll set up the same way before. Press into your feet, press into your arms if you have your arms out, and then start to engage the muscles of the back as your knees move in the opposite direction of your face. Lifting up. Now I'm just feeling different muscles. I'm feeling a little bit more in the outer glutes, into the hips. I'm feeling a little bit more inner thighs with my legs open and external like this. So I'm moving into abduction, hugging in the muscles, trying to endure. Now, of course, if you are building up your muscle strength, you can go up and down just like we did in the standing poses. Take your time to move into the longer hold. And when you're ready, you can let everything come back down to the mat. If your feet were wide, keep them wide or take them wide if they weren't there. And do a little stretch here, a version of a windshield wiper, but something to really stretch the front of the hip flexors. So let one knee come in. You can keep the other knee relatively pointing toward the sky or the ceiling. It might move. And then for the knee that you're taking in, that's internally, so now we're doing adduction, press into that foot so you can lift that hip a bit. So my other knee is moving a bit, but I'm focusing here, getting a stretch here. I am engaging my glutes a little bit, so the muscles of the glutes are engaging to help the front of my hip flexor stretch. Just another little version, almost like a half bridge pose variation, but getting into some of these pesky hip flexor muscles that get tight and that we don't often independently target. And then set that hip down, reset, let the other knee dip in, push into the foot, lift the hip, press the knee away from you, press the hip, and hold for a few breaths to find that stretch along the front of the hip flexor. All right, come back down. Wonderful news. All we have left is stretching. So now you can take your feet so they're about the more traditional hip width apart or wherever is comfortable for you. And we'll do a few different moves here. We're going to start with a figure four where we take the right leg or the right ankle over the top of the left thigh. We're going to keep the bottom foot grounded here. And we'll simply do a little rock back and forth. So this is a little bit more effortless than lifting the bottom leg. And yet as we rock, we can get all the muscles around the pelvis, the hip girdle, the outside of this hip. All right, come to center, take that same right knee, draw it into your chest. You can hold for a moment, and then you can keep holding somewhere on the shin or maybe the thigh. Bend straighten the legs a few times. You probably can't hear this, but my knee is making all kinds of creak and cracking sounds. And then reach your foot away, extending the leg. No need for it to be all the way straight. Wherever your extension is, you might use your hands to pull it closer to your body for a breath or two if you'd like. And rebend this leg, bend the knee, take the leg a little more out to the side. And a half happy baby, you can simply hold the knee out to the side, or if it's comfortable to reach for your toe or the outer edge of your foot, you can do that. So it's not necessary to grab the foot, but if it feels available to you and is there, you can. You might feel this around your outer glutes, your hips, around the inside. And then let's take that foot down to meet the other. Same little series of poses on the second side. So first we'll draw the left ankle over the right thigh and simply rock. Letting this stretch be pretty chill after the effort that we put in. All right, find your way back to center. Draw the left knee into your chest for a moment. Give it a little hug, a little bit of healthy compression. And then holding on or not, you don't have to hold. Bend, straighten a few times. If you're hearing some creaks and cracks in your knee, I'm right there with you. And find a sustained hold, reaching away with your foot. If you turn the toes toward your face, so flexing the foot a little more, you might feel more or a different stretch in the back of your leg. You can try pointing the toes. You might feel more or a different stretch in the front of your leg. And then remember that we start to rebend the knee, take it out to the side. Now you can hold it simply here wide or behind the thigh, or if you find that there's some place you can reach comfortably with your hand, take the knee wide, reach the sole of the foot toward the sky, half happy baby on this side. And then let's draw both knees in toward the chest. And just like we did with half happy baby, you can widen the knees and hold them right here. Or if you're up to finish with a two-legged happy baby, there are lots of variations on this. You can hold behind your thighs, you can hold onto your big toes, or perhaps you can hold onto your heels or the outer edges of your feet. Wherever you're holding, send your tailbone down toward the ground as you hold your feet to get the best stretch for your spine in addition to your hips. You can rock your happy baby or simply sustain your hold. And then bring your feet down. Let your feet widen, your knees rest toward each other in a version of constructive rest. And this is where I'll leave you for today. I'd love to hear what you thought of this strength-based yoga practice. Please comment below, like the video, subscribe, and hey, come join me again. Have a great rest of your day.